Exercise 12-3 is asking us to do a horizontal analysis. It's asking us to look at the same account from one year to the next. This is a form of trend analysis. What happened from last year to this year? So our first step is we need to go through and subtract every number in the 2018 column from the number in 2019 to see what the difference is. So we'll start with revenue or net sales. The difference there is $3,300,000. $3,300,000. Then we'll do gross profit, cost of goods sold, and we'll subtract 7 from 13.2, and we'll come up with $6,200,000. Then we'll do gross profit, where we'll subtract last year's gross profit from this year's gross profit, and we find out that it went down $2,900,000. Then we'll do the same thing for operating expense. Last year it was in 2018 it was 1.2 million. This year it was 1.6 million. It went up $400,000. There was no change in our depreciation expense. Our inventory write-down went up $200,000. We had none in 18 and $200,000 this year. Our litigation expense was $300,000 last year. It was 1.5 million this year. It went up by 1,200,000. Our income before tax last year was 6 million. This year it was 1.3 million. It went down 4,700,000. Our income tax expense was 2 million. This year it's 450,000. It went down 1,550,000. I guess there's a bright spot to losing all that money is that you pay less taxes. And our net income had been 4 million. This year it was 850,000. That went down $3,150,000. That's our first step. Now our second step is we have to look at the change and look at the difference in the change. We have to look at what happened last year and compare it to what happened this year. In other words, what percentage of change is represented by this amount? So what we need to do is we have to take each one of those amounts and divide. I'm looking for my notes here. So I'm just digging out my calculator, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 3,300,000, making sure I have the right number of zeros, and I'm going to be dividing that by 15,500,000, and I come up with 21.29%. So the 3,300,000 is 21.29% of an increase in revenues. So my revenues of 18,800,000 have gone up 21.29%. I'm going to do that all the way down, where I'm going to take the amount of change. I'm going to take the amount of change, this column, and I'm going to divide it by what we had last year. I'll call that last year's numbers. And we're going to do the same thing all the way down. So we're going to take 6,200,000 and make sure you get the right number of zeros. I am forever putting in the wrong number of zeros. Divide by 7 million. And I come up with 88.57%. In other words, and it would ask it around to, I think, one decimal place would be 88.6. In other words, our sales this year went from 7 million to 13.2 million. That was an 88.57% increase in our cost of goods sold. I'm going to continue on down that column looking at just the change, where I'm going to be dividing what we have, the change, the amount of change, by last year's number. And when I do that, this comes to 34.1%. In other words, my gross profit from last year to this year has gone down 34.1%. My operating expenses were 1.2 million, now they're 1.6. They've gone up 400,000. That's a 33.33% increase in operating expenses. You can't do that, and you can't do that because you can't divide any number into zero or zero by zero. Our litigation expense, seems like this company likes to spend a lot of time in court, was 300,000 in 18. It went up 1.2 million. That's a 400% increase. Yes, 400% increase. Then my income before tax had been 6 million. It went down 4.7 million. So that's a 78.3% reduction in income before tax. Now the only bright spot in this whole mess is our tax expense also went down from 2 million to 450,000. That's a reduction of 1,550,000. So 1,550,000 divided by 2 million, 77.5% reduction in taxes. And the reduction that is not nearly as pleasant to contemplate is the reduction to net income. It had been 4 million. It is now 850,000. It has gone down 3,150,000. Again, dividing the 3,150,000 by the 4 million, we come up with 78.8. 78.8 reduction in, you write that a little more plainly, in net income. That's a horizontal analysis, a trend analysis. You would look at this and you would say things like, our revenues went up 21.2%. Our cost of goods sold went up 88.6%. Our gross profit went down 34.1%. Our operating expenses went up 33.33%. Our litigation expense went up 400%. Our income before tax went down 78.3%. Our income tax expense went down 77.5%. And our net income after tax went down 78.8%.